we've had the Bank of Indonesia move several times to defend the currency that seems to have fallen on deaf ears when you look at the performance of the rupiah, looking very dismal. What is the medicine here that perhaps could allay some of these concerns?
Well, at the end of the day, the currency went up with big fund flows, both equity and debt, and it's going down because of the big fund flows. And now there's some speculation. So essentially what we've seen before is there has to be some intervention to stop the speculation, if you see what I mean. Interest rates themselves don't work in situations like this.
What would be the magic formula there? Because, yes, there has been intervention already on the part of Indonesia. There's been calls for more rate hikes. And we've also seen an intervention fall flat in other economies as well, like in Turkey. So how much more can intervention actually help here?
It's really, the intervention can only work if it can stop the speculators. And this is what I was just saying in the earlier segment. The noise, the louder it gets about how terrible everything is, the more you know that the FX speculators are in there trying to drive the currencies in that direction. And this is a problem that these emerging market countries have had time and time again over the years. And there is no easy answer except to say that very high interest rates end up doing more damage to the economy than they actually do in stabilising the currency.
Mark, is there a Fed element to this EM route? Can the Fed be partially held responsible for it?
Well, to the extent that you've got the circular argument that the money flows out and the dollar strengthens, and then obviously a strong dollar is a problem for these particular emerging markets that have borrowed in dollars. So I think we've seen this before. This is actually why previously the Fed has not raised interest rates when it otherwise would have done from the US economy point of view. Back in the taper tantrum, for example, exactly this sort of situation, a global view of the problems of tighter monetary policy. So, yeah, to the extent that they are ignoring the global view and are talking about monetary policy as suiting just America, yeah, I think in that sense they have got some responsibility. But then again, you know, I don't think they necessarily can be blamed for the fact that there are these economic problems in these countries, and they're not going to go anywhere anytime easily.
Right. What do you do then? I mean, these things come in phases, right? I mean, the Fed, we could see this coming from last year. Speculators are now pounding on the currencies. What's the next phase? And when does this sort of whole rotation back into DMs, how do you know when it's over?
Well, I think we could have one tweet from the White House bathroom that says the dollar is too strong. And that would actually take some of the speculation.
We've already had that, though.
Well, maybe a second one then.
Okay.
No, just essentially, if there is a perception that actually the strong dollar is undermining what the whole point of the tariffs is about, but see, the tariffs are actually about getting tariffs down. Trump wants tariffs lower. He's using the threat of higher tariffs in order to get tariffs lower everywhere, which is a good thing. But as part of this, a strong dollar is actually damaging the very people he is trying to help. Now, at some point, there will be talk from the administration, I'm sure, that actually a strong dollar, not that the Fed shouldn't raise interest rates, but a strong dollar is not good for the US economy. And that, I think, will take some of that speculation out across all currencies. So it's not trying to prop up a rupiah or a lira. It's actually saying the dollar is now actually not doing what we want it to do, and it's very, very heavily overbought. Everything else is oversold. So we kind of have to wait for that momentum to run out of the dollar, and that'll take a lot of the sting, a lot of the pressure out of the EM currencies.
A strong dollar, tariffs, and we also have recession calls. How will that play out, Mark?
Recession calls, what, in emerging markets, you mean, or? Well, of course, that is, I mean, where you have got US monetary policy against an emerging market economy, there is a threat of big economic tightening. So I think essentially what's going on is that, as I was saying in the earlier segment, people will look outside of the US to countries that are not going to be affected, and that, for me, is North Asia, including China. But all of these people, they do not have the current account deficits. They do not have to import US monetary policy. So actually splitting out the South American, the Central Eastern Europe away from the North Asia, I think is going to become the asset allocation call in the second half of the year.